Out of all the types of cook fires there are out there, this is one of my favorites. This is called the Hunter's Fire. There's a bit of a secret to it, and it's not very well known these days. Most people know the teepee fire, the log cabin fire. They may even know the long log fire, and even the finish fire, but the Hunter's Fire seems to kind of gone with the past. It's kind of disappeared and been laid to the wayside, which I find kind of a shame because it's a very practical way of using fire. All you really need is 2 logs. Everything else is just kindling and fuel. You just need 2 logs. You don't need to make a tripod. You don't have to make any pot hangers. You just need 2 logs. And if it's a long log, even better because you can set up multiple pots on it, or even a grill. The way it works is instead of having them parallel to each other as we do with most other fires, they're actually in a V shape. And that V shape offers a couple of different benefits. First and foremost, it focuses the heat right in between them. It's kind of like a funnel, especially if you set it up with the wind. The wind hits it right in the middle and drives it right into the fuel of the 2 main logs. The second thing is the uprights, being now in a form of triangle almost, become more stable. They're not going to as easily roll away from each other, dropping your pot into the fire. In fact, they usually kind of want to fall into each other, supporting one another and becoming even more stable as the fire burns. The final benefit is, as they start to V out, you can actually adjust the V from very narrow, allowing a bunch of small cook pots and little containers like this, to larger pans near the end, such as a frying pan, a skillet, a Dutch oven, or even laying out a grill. If you don't have a grill, you can just take a few pieces of steel and lay them across and they become a grill. And that's really the benefit of a Hunter's Fire. You can do multiple cookings without having to set up any kind of rig, having to carve anything. You just lay 2 logs down, put your kindling between them, and go. Just make sure on a slight V and it's very stable. Now, if you have woods available such as hemlock, butternut, and chestnut, and they're already standing dead or they're on the ground, they're not as easy to burn as such woods such as ash or maple or oak. They don't burn as easily, so they're perfect cooking walls or cooking logs for a Hunter's Fire. On the other hand, things like ash, in this instance ash, or maple or oak, they burn up very readily. They become part of the fire itself. So it's actually a good way to burn your make your cook fire first and your warming, drying fire afterwards to keep you warm through the night. You just let them continue to burn and become the primary coals for your bigger fire. However, for cooking, for long term, I prefer hemlock almost over any of the others. The main reason, we got a lot of hemlock in these woods here. Butternut is a bit of a rarity here in Ontario, and chestnut even more so. And the other reason is chestnut and butternut also throw out a lot of big sparks. So as you're cooking, you might get a couple of singes to your jacket or even to your beard, if you have one. On the other hand, things like ash, they're very plentiful. They burn up pretty fast, but they burn nice and steady, unlike something like cedar or pine, which will burn up pretty readily, and you lose your fire pretty quick. This way I can have a couple of days of cooking on 2 logs, and as the fire goes, they burn up, and I just add 2 more logs later on. Now, if you're looking up the name for this, it's called the Hunter's Fire. You can find it online. I believe Horace Keffert talked about it. Nesmuck, in a little bit of his writing, mentioned it. Townsend Whalen, Colonel Townsend Whalen, or Whalen, also talked about them. And you can find them in a lot of the old campcraft books. Not so much in the modern bushcraft books that a lot of people talk about and read and write. Again, this is one of my favorites because I have the simple, well, just basically the simplicity. It's a very, very simple fire to set up. Not a lot of work, not a lot of thought has to be put into it. It's a very easy fire for beginners to have a successful cookout when they're out there camping.